Welcome back to the Ryoko Show, the podcast that empowers and inspires you to create a life you truly love. I'm Ryoko. Today, we are going to talk about something that holds so many of us back to go after what we really desire, the fear of failure and rejection. Whether it's a job interview, a relationship, or starting a new project, failure and rejection are part of life. But so many of us are terrified of making mistakes, looking ridiculous, or not living up to some impossible standard of perfection. We hesitate, second guess ourselves, or sometimes don't even try because we are afraid of what failure might say about us. But imagine this. What could you achieve? What would you dare to try if you weren't so attached to the traditional definition of failure or rejection? What if instead of seeing them as setbacks, you saw them as stepping stone for growth? That's exactly what we are going to dive into today. So let's get started. Before we dive into how we can change our relationship with failure and rejection, let's break down why we fear them so much. Most of the time, it boils down to this. We fear being judged. We fear not being good enough. And ultimately, we fear what failure or rejection says about our worth. When we experience failure or rejection, it can feel deeply personal. It's not just what we failed, a test, or got turned down for a date. It can feel like we are failures. And that's a big misconception, and it's why these experiences are so painful. But what if failure and rejections were neutral events? What if they were just feedback? So let's start with failure. Society has taught us to see failure as this big, bad, negative thing, right? But what if we could redefine it? Here is a new way to look at failure. Failure is not an end point. It's a step in the process. It's how we learn and it's how we grow. Think about some of the most successful people you know. Oprah, J.K. Rowling, Steve Jobs. They've all faced failure, often repeatedly. And the difference is they didn't let it stop them. They use it to sharpen their skills, refine their approach, and get back up. So here's the takeaway. Failure is feedback, not a definition of who you are. Thomas Edison, he invented the light bulb, but was famously told that he had failed 10,000 times before finally getting it right. When he was asked about this, he said, I have not failed 10,000 times. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's a powerful mindset shift. Instead of fearing failure, see it as a path toward finding what does work. Every time you fail, you are one step closer to success. Now let's talk about rejection. Rejection feels personal because it often involves someone else's opinion of us, whether it's in relationship, job opportunities, or social settings. But here is a radical idea. Rejection is not a reflection of your value. It's about fit, timing, and sometimes things entirely outside of your control. You might get rejected from a job because they already had an internal candidate. You might be turned out in a relationship because the other person isn't ready for commitment. Either of these situations say anything about your worth. Rejection is redirection. It's pointing you towards something or someone better suited for you. Take J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. She was rejected by 12 publishers before one finally accepted her manuscript. Can you imagine if she had let those rejections stop her? We wouldn't have Harry Potter. And then there is Jack Canfield, the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, and he and his co-author Mark Victor Hansen were rejected by 144 publishers before they found a publisher who was willing to take a chance. If they had given up, we wouldn't have the incredible success series that had sold more than 500 million copies worldwide. And personally, I wouldn't be one of those people impacted by his work and inspired to transform my own life. And I love what Jamie Kern Lemer said. She said, rejection is God's protection. Jamie faced rejection from hundreds of investors before she built her company, It Cosmetics, and eventually sold it to L'Oreal for $2 million in cash. As she wisely said, sometimes what feels like a setback is actually guiding us towards something even better. It's not about how many times you are rejected. It's about persisting until you find the right fit. Next, take action despite fear. Fear of failure and rejection often paralyze us and keeping us stuck in our comfort zone, the zone of familiarity. But here is the secret. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes from action. The more you try, the more resilient you become. Next, celebrate small wins. Instead of focusing on the big successes, celebrate every little win along the way. You tried something new and didn't succeed, then celebrate the fact that you tried. Each small step is progress. And be kind to yourself. Rejection and failure can sting, but remember, they don't define you. Practice self-compassion and treat yourself with the same kindness you would give a friend who is going through the same thing. It's important to remember that your worth isn't tied to the outcome of any situation. Even if things don't go as planned, it doesn't make you any less valuable or capable. Just by being you, just by existing, you are already worthy. So keep treating yourself with respect and kindness no matter what happens. So to recap, failure and rejection are inevitable, but they don't have to be enemies. They can be powerful teachers guiding us toward growth and self-discovery. Success often starts with how you choose to view these experiences. When you give yourself permission to fail, you give yourself permission to fly higher. Do it imperfectly and fail forward. Many successful people have faced more failures than successes. We only see their spotlight moments and think they are special, but their journeys are full of setbacks and rejections. It's their perseverance through tough times that set them apart. So if you are struggling, remember you are not alone. Failure is just part of the path to success. The next time you face rejection or failure, instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What is the blessing that I don't see from this challenge? This small shift in perspective can change everything. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ryoko Show. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, rate and review, and share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, go to the show note and grab the free guide to build the solid foundation to transform your life. Until next time, keep shining.